so we've now reached the final tactic in today's program, notify the people who care. Who those people are will depend on the issue, as Lori was mentioning. It could be parents, co-workers, neighbors, or even shareholders. We now live in a world where fact-checking has become narrative crafting. We went from a president who paid maybe too much attention to the polls, to one who reads them upside down. I'm not kidding. Today, up is down, right is wrong, 2 + 2 can equal 5, and men can be women or vice versa. While we can't fix stupid, we can cure ignorance, which is what most people are, because they have been intentionally excluded from the truth by our government, our schools, our media institutions, and now even our corporations are doing it. And that's one of the biggest mistakes conservatism made, was hooking their wives to corporatism in the early 2000s. Our final presenter will show us how to inform everyone who needs to know what is being kept from them. This lifelong resident of New Haven County found out firsthand what he didn't know about elections when he ran for U.S. Senate as a first-time candidate in 2018. All the irregularities he saw on election night fueled his drive to focus on election integrity issues as the chairman of the board of Fight Voter Fraud, Inc. for the past 3 years. A football and track star at Trinity College before graduating in 1983, he has coached more than 1,000 young men on how to win at top corner football. A 25-year veteran of Apple's Consumer Electronics Division, where he won twice won Salesperson of the Year, he is now trying to win the Republican nomination to be our candidate for Secretary of State. Please welcome to the podium Charter Oak Leadership Program graduate, Grassroots East Board member, and fellow CTRA member, Dominic Rapini.
Excuse the glasses, I'm fighting a cataract. You younger people don't know what that is, but it just means you have to wear glasses. So first of all, thanks for having me follow Margaret Thatcher. or Laura Boebert, it was unbelievable, right? Laura, you're amazing. Thank you for everything you do. Your sacrifices do not go unnoticed, and your messages are resonating everywhere. And we're going to make sure, it's our job to make sure we take people like Lori and her messages, and we amplify them. Right? We amplify the messages. That's what we talk to. That's what we do. And so before I start my part here, I want to piggyback on a story that Lori started to talk about. Is the experience with courts, Connecticut courts. This was not part of my original talk, but many of you will remember that Linda and I, as great partners as we were for 3 years, we were one of the first states in the country. We were one of the first organizations in the United States to launch a lawsuit against the Secretary of State for the illegal administrative decree saying that it's okay to change your constitution because of fear of COVID. And we launched that lawsuit. And we put up a great fight. We raised a lot of money. It was personally very hard and expensive on us. And but we did it because it was the right thing to do. And we lost to a court full of judges that were elected, they were all appointed by Democratic governors. Now what's interesting, who by the way, their final decision was, oh yeah, this is constitutional, it's okay. We did force a special session of the legislators, so we made legislators at least put their signature on it. What's interesting about that case, Lori, and not everyone understands, many other battleground states had the same decree. Right? You know, for Pennsylvania, for example, Georgia, oh, if you're COVID, everybody can mail in vote, even though there was no precedent for it, no infrastructure. Well, just in the last 30 days, the Pennsylvania courts just ruled that when they did the exact same decree in Pennsylvania, it was deemed to be unconstitutional. And it reminds us that judges matter, right? And the judges we have in Connecticut are not built around a constitutional framework. And Lori's called it out, and Linda and I had first-hand experience with it. What was unconstitutional in Pennsylvania is considered constitutional in Connecticut. And these are the things that we have to understand and amplify wherever we go. All right, so now let's go back to the parts of the speech I was asked to talk about. So Ann asked me to talk about messaging and notifying the people that care. She said, Dom, you got 20 minutes. Of course, the first thing I thought of was, all right, what am I going to do for the other 19 minutes? But I think before I get started, I want to talk, this is something that's important messaging. One of the things I love about CTRA, the Federated Republican Women, and the conservative women groups around the state, is meeting conservative women, principled, conservative women is an amazing experience. It's energizing, it's electrifying. And I want to tell you a story that I think kind of capsulizes what conservative women are like and what I see when I meet a woman who is fearless in her conservatism, fearless in fighting for the parental rights for her children, and just a principled conservative. So not too long ago in Brantford, a retired conservative woman, a former CEO, just an incredible woman. She was driving through a stop sign. Maybe didn't stop as fully as she should have. And the Brantford police pulled her over. And as protocol, the policeman had to ask the woman, excuse me, I had to ask you, do you have a firearm in this vehicle? She said, hold on a second. She pulled up her center console and pulled out a .38 revolver. The officer said, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I do have to ask you again, though, is there any other firearms in this vehicle? She said, well, hold on a second. She rushes to her glove compartment, pulls out a 9mm Glock. He goes, wow, okay, thank you for being so honest, but I have to ask you one more time. Are there any other firearms in this vehicle? She says, well, hold on a second. She reaches down underneath her seat and pulls out a .44 Magnum. And the police officer looks at her and says, miss, what are you afraid of? She goes, nothing. That's what conservative women mean to me, okay? So when we talk about messaging, in my career at Apple, technically I'm in sales, but I'm also in marketing, right? Because I have to understand how to brand products, put branding and solutions out there, and how to present products either in stores or online. So messaging is something that's very important to me. And I think one of the first things we have to do when we take what we know from our business marketing experience and put it into politics is as always, you have to define your audience. Who are you talking to, right? So for example, are you talking to a religious group or people that are religious and that believe in God, right? And for the most part, that's what we're always talking to, I hope. Are you talking to the business community? As Secretary of the State, I'll be talking to the business community. I have a different line of questioning and things for that people than I would for people who are just interested in elections. Are you talking to parents and school boards, right? Like the thousands of people, young parents across this state that are fighting tooth and nail for parental rights, right? These are people, by the way, who have rediscovered our Constitution and now understand the difference between natural rights and the fact that there are no rights given to us by our government, right, or by man in general. Right. Are you talking to homeowners, if you're talking about zoning? You got to know who the audience is, because your message always has to be tailored to the right audience. You've got to know who are you talking to. Right. The other thing you need to do is you need to define your principle. You have to define your message, but that doesn't happen until you understand your principles. What do you stand for? So, do you believe that you have to defend all lives, including the born and unborn? That's a core principle, right? Make sure you understand it and be proud of it. You have to understand, when you're talking about elections, are you saying to yourself, you know what, only one legal vote for one legal voter? And we give Linda Segwitz the credit for that great quote, because it simplifies it. Well, Linda understands her core principle. And I know I flipped a few words on that, Linda, as I always do. Is your core principle to go as far back to our founding fathers and going back to, let's say, Thomas Jefferson and the Declaration of Independence, when he said, we give considerable power to our government, but we can only be governed by our consent. Right? That's one of my core principles, because I believe that the way we give our consent is through the ballot box. Is your core message about law and order? There's a lot of different things. We can talk about anything as conservatives. We just can't talk about everything. So you see Lori has her speciality around constitutions, right? And constitutional issues. Some of you are about parental rights. Some of you are about law and order. Pick one thing that you want to focus on and be awesome at it. And be the subject matter expert like Lori is on all her topics. So here's some I think some important traits of people that are good at messaging. One is you got to use humor, right? And you heard me. I start off with a joke. I didn't want to just get cheap laughs, although that is kind of gratuitous. But you want to get people laughing, and whatever you do, just try to smile. if you're not a joke teller, just smile as much as you can. Let your personality come through in anything you do, and that is a way to be a great messenger. I know for some people, going up the first time, you get nervous, you get excited, you talk fast. I remember Jennifer, I said her YouTube clip up in a board ed meeting in North Haven. I mean, she was fearless, and she was talking fast, and she was excited, and that was her. So you know what? She raised her hand and did something, and I'll never forget that, because this is an example of somebody who's just getting warmed up. Listen, it's always important if you're going to be as a messenger, you've got to be respectful. Listen, I know it's fun to make all kinds of jokes about Joe Biden and Ned Lamont. I know it's humorous and it's gratuitous and maybe it feels good for us, but we didn't like that when then people did that to Trump. We didn't like Trump being burned in effigy. No. We didn't like all the Russian name calling and all that stuff. We didn't like it. So I try to refrain from that, particularly in the campaign trail, because I no longer feel good about it. Everybody knows what's going on with the Biden presidency, and you know what? I'm cheering them on, because that Biden effect's going to make a big difference for us here in Connecticut this year, 2022. So let them do this. Let them be Joe Biden. Let Kamala be Kamala. Let Lamont be Lamont. And you know what? Let's talk about the things that we want to do, and just be great messengers for the things that we care about. Hold on, I didn't have applause written on that part of my message, so thank you for that. So, one of the things we have to do as we message is we have to generate emotion. Can I ask every Republican here to pledge with me that you will not talk using spreadsheets? Right? Oh my God! Can we stop talking about taxes? Because most people in Connecticut don't even pay taxes, unless you count the 8% inflation, which is really another tax. Right? Let's stop talk about taxes. Right? We've got to talk about law and order. We've got to talk about parental rights. We're going to talk about our individual rights. We're going to talk about how we believe in freedom and we don't believe in mandates. Right? Those are the things we talk about. Those are our emotional connections with everybody, and I'm seeing it across the state. I swear to God, the Democrats are using poems and we're using spreadsheets. This kind of stuff. Listen, you have to be sincere. You've got to believe in what you're talking about. Right? If you're talking based on your principles, that's going to happen naturally. And you have to have a call to action. It's not enough to get up there and say, this is great, I'm all for, no mandates, blah, blah, blah. Come up with a solution, right? Call for an action. Tell me sign a petition. Tell me you write an op-ed. 10 people, let's get to the meeting. 10 people, tell 10 other people what we're doing, right? You have to have 1 or 2 call to actions for everything, every time you get up and talk to people. And for example, Don Rapini is running for Secretary of State, so donate to Dominic at Dominic for CTIO.us. Now that's just an example of a call to action. What's very important is you have to be credible, right? If you don't know the facts, I work every day, and Linda will tell you, right? People who know me know every day I work hard to understand everything about Connecticut elections I can, and so that I can go toe-to-toe with any member of the opposition party. And I'll talk to anybody. I will go head toe-to-toe with Joe Biden, although that wouldn't be a fair fight. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that thing I said I would do. One of the things when you're talking is, unlike the 20 minutes we're doing today, when you're up in front of the school board, or you're in front, you raise your hand, you really got to practice a 3-minute pitch, right? Videotape yourself. If you have a page full of notes, that's too long, right? Pick 3 things you want to talk about. Let your knowledge of the subject fill in from there. Right? 3 minutes is generally all you get in Congress, right? And to make your points. Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. For example, we want to make it here in Connecticut, we want to make it easy to vote, but hard to cheat, right? Simple message. All right, so some important tactics. 1, you got to be fearless, right? If you know your subject matter, you know your principles, it's easy to go raise your hand and go do things. If you're not sure, go back to the first index card and go figure those things out. We talked about being credible. Set low expectations of the media, right, Lori? They're not going to help us, right? So we have to find other ways to reach, to get our message out. So, good example today, I just got an op-ed written in the Hearst Media paper, so you'll see it all over the state, CT Post, Register, Greenwich Times. And my team worked really hard to get this thing published, right, and help me write this. And it was a rebuttal to a left-wing group in Connecticut that says, you know, Canadian Republicans are going to suppress the vote. They're at it again, right? And so I came back with it at them with, you know, with facts and links and things that are irrefutable, and say, really? Show me where we're suppressing the vote. We have a 75% turnout rate of voters in Connecticut. That's 8 points higher than Georgia and the United States average. So who's getting suppressed? We have 40 places of vote in New Haven, 40 places of vote in Hartford. We have drop boxes. I'm sorry. And everyone got mail-in votes. Show me who's being suppressed, right? Know the facts, right? And then you can go up and you can write these things. But the point is, get out there and start writing op-eds. If you get these op-eds published in the patch, then you can repurpose them on your social media and your web pages. And it's a way that, and then your friends, we should be amplifying one another's information. When Lori writes something out there, we got to amplify it elsewhere. And if I put stuff on my Facebook page, please amplify. When you write an op-ed, keep it emotional and credible, keep it respectful, and factual with links to the facts. I recommend that everybody in their patch of Connecticut build a social media army, right? 5, 10 people that have a few targets out there of the opposition: a superintendent, a state representative, a state rep, people who are on the other side of the issues than you, and you got to ghost them. You set up notifications so when they write something, these people you got 5, not just you, but 5 or 6 other people saying, "Whoa, that's not right. That's not what we want for Griswold." Okay, and then when people attack these people are out there to defend you. So build a ghost army of people that can get on social media and be vigilant on what's going on out there, and nothing gets by you. And then do Facebook Live, do a video. I mean, everybody here has the technology, except for Jane, to do. Sorry, Jane. We'll help you do this if you want. But everybody here can do a Facebook Live. All right, any device can generate it. And when you do a Facebook Live, keep it to a minute, keep it to 2 minutes. Don't be a rant. Get up there and say something powerful, script it ahead of time, and get it done. All right, so what's next? Well, first you got to build your team. The people that believe the same way you are, the people that swim in the same direction. You start with your CTRA brothers and sisters, right? Build a team locally to get these things done. Create a game plan. We're going to write one op-ed a month. We're going to get a social media army, right? We're going to go to the school board meetings. We're going to go to the zoning meetings. We're going to run for office. How about that, guys? We need you people here. We need you freedom lovers to go run for office, right? Don't let somebody else do it when you can do it yourself. And you got to get out there and be heard. And finally, as we say at Apple, when we talk about doing presentations and getting in front of people, I always talk about the 3 Bs. Be brief, be brilliant, and then be gone. Thank you very much.